Welcome back to Pace Immigration, paceimmigration.com, talking once again with immigration lawyers Michael O'Rourke and Anna Aazam. Good to see you both.
Hey, Sean. How's it going?
Hi, Sean.
It's going well for us on this side of the pond, not so well for others right now. We have here on the screen refugee considerations for LGBTQ people facing persecution. The reason we're bringing this up, March 2023, Uganda's parliament passes a law making it a crime to identify as LGBTQ. Uganda is not alone in their discrimination of gays, and we'll get into that. But Michael, we thought it'd be a good idea to talk about this stuff. Take us through what we're seeing here on the screen from, frankly, a horrendous law that's been passed in Uganda.
Yeah, horrendous is a good word for it, Sean. This new law, which has not yet been signed into law, it's been passed through the Ugandan legislature, provides some enhancements to the already existing life sentence that Uganda has for anyone caught engaging in gay sex. This law is a redux of a law that was passed in 2014 that was locally called the Kill the Gays law. Ugandan society and is very conservative. Its legislature has taken up the banner of trying to persecute gays and lesbians even more. And with this law, even defining as gay or lesbian or bi or trans can have a criminal impact now.
Right. Anna, let's talk about this thing here down at the bottom, prosecution for supporting gay rights. You made a comment online that this not only affects gay rights, but it also affects freedom of speech, freedom of association, and other human rights.
It certainly does. It's very worrisome that this is just another example of how much wider the scope is with this new legislation's ability to prosecute people who are not identifying as homosexual or LGBTQ, but they are just assisting someone who may be in dire need. So this will include people who are running safe houses or people who are providing medical attention, which for people who are LGBTQ can be very difficult to find as it is in Uganda. So those people also come under the umbrella of this new law. Previously, those persons may have been able to claim for refugee protection, saying that they have been targeted after helping others, but it would be more difficult for them to establish their claims. Now, though, there is a law saying that they should be prosecuted. They can't exactly go to another part of the country and stay safe if the government wants to prosecute them for acts they've done.
Right. Michael, we did mention that Uganda is not alone. There's around 70 countries currently that criminalize homosexuality to some degree. Several of those countries still carry a death sentence for gay sex.
Yes, that's true. 30 of Africa's 54 nations do actually criminalize homosexual sex. And Kenya and Zambia, Kenya's a neighboring country to Uganda, has also gone on this journey of furthering persecution of gays and lesbians. But unfortunately, this is rampant throughout many parts of the world, especially Africa and Asia.
Right. Now, let's talk about then how we can help some of these people, or hopefully help some of these people. We've got, Michael, you are the immigration expert in Canada and the U.S. with some business angle that we can talk about, that people might be able to take advantage of that. But we also have with us on the broadcast now is Anna, and she's the refugee expert in Canada. Anna, talk us through this. People that are facing persecution for their sexual orientation, that falls under the refugee umbrella, does it not?
Yes, absolutely. The convention was enacted to assist people who have left their country of origin due to a well-founded fear of persecution. Well-founded means you have a good reason to be scared, basically. So you can't be saying if there's a country that's more tolerant of LGBTQ rights or that does not exactly have a law against it, and there are places where you can be safe, you may not be found to have a well-founded fear. So obviously, though, if it is against the law, you're fine there. You won't have an issue establishing that part of your claim. And then also, if it is the law, then you don't have to it's not difficult to explain why you cannot turn to your government for help. These people have to be unable or unwilling to turn to their own government for protection, and that's why they need another country to help them.
Obviously, like you said here, what we've got right at the top, this first bullet point, is outside their country of origin. What do you tell people that are still, say, inside Uganda and they're thinking, man, I got to get out of here?
You got to get out of there. That is really all you can do, because you cannot make an application to Canada from Uganda. There is no way to do it online or via government agencies. You need to exit. Now, there are countries where the UN is present, where you can make a claim directly to the UNHCR. And Kenya is an example of a country where there are refugee camps where a lot of people from Uganda go, even though Kenya itself is persecuting gay people. You can at least approach the UN there. And after being found to be a refugee by the UN, you can then be resettled.
Let's be realistic about this, however, and I'll throw this to both of you. I mean, we hear, there's millions of refugees around the world. So when it's not as simple as, say, exiting to Kenya, filing, and then within 3 months, you're finding yourself in Canada. Is that right?
No, it generally does take years. And that's even if you have people who you know in Canada who are trying to help you. There's the Group of Five sponsorship program that we do offer here, where it's a minimum of 5 Canadian citizens or permanent residents who are willing to sponsor a refugee who has been found to be a refugee by the UN. Even with their assistance, it is a long process. So we are talking years. People who have been found to be refugees, though, might be able to leave the camp and live in other parts of, Kenya. But as we've heard, it's not exactly safer for them. So they need to lay low during their time while they're waiting to be resettled.
Michael, the U.S. side of the border, same kind of question for you. It takes years for someone to come to Canada. Same idea when it's the United States.
Yes, exactly. And the U.S. has also been actively discouraging and forcing asylum applicants, refugee applicants from applying at the U.S. border. You used to be able to do that. Now, with the continuance of the Title 42 laws and regulations, it's almost impossible.
Anna, you pointed something out that let's say someone finds themselves in the United States. Let's say there's a Ugandan visiting right now or something that's in the United States. You pointed out that making a claim, you have to do it within 12 months or something, or otherwise you're out of luck pretty much forever.
That is the case in the United States. In Canada, you still have to explain delay. You always have to explain why you did not claim immediately upon arrival, because that's going to play into your the board member's assessment of your fear. If you're truly afraid, why wouldn't you have sought assistance right away? But there are explanations, reasonable explanations. Some people, if you're there with status, or if perhaps you're in a relationship and the person was going to sponsor you, but then the relationship fell apart. So there can be explanations. And so Canada is more forgiving in terms of hearing you out. Whereas in the United States, it's a much more, there's a formal process whereby after the 12 months, you go into a different stream. And your claim may be heard, but you're going to be in detention. You're going to have a very difficult time presenting your case. And the likelihood of acceptance for those who claim after 12 months is very low.
Michael, thoughts on, so we have right now what's going on in Ukraine with the war there, and both the United States and Canada came up with some remedies for people that couldn't go back, whether it was, I believe it's temporary protected status or something like it in the United States, that kind of thing. Do you envision something like this, that maybe there could be a movement towards allowing Ugandans who are already in the country to say, hey, you don't have to go back?
No, I don't see that. Usually that mechanism is called temporary protected status in the US, TPS, and that's usually only used for disasters like earthquakes or huge political unrest, something on that order. But for a targeted group like this, I don't see the U.S. Rolling out a TPS program, there might be additional pressure put on by the U.S. State Department on Uganda. We've already seen that about this particular law. Perhaps the U.S. Embassy in Kampala is making liaisons with civil society groups and helping informally. I'm not sure about that, but it wouldn't surprise me. In general, though, I don't think there's going to be a concerted immigration response to this for the people who are being persecuted.
Maybe there are other avenues that people can use. Michael, we'll start with you. For the United States, perhaps there's a way someone could come to the USA.
Sure. So one option is through marrying an American and having the American citizen or permanent resident sponsor for permanent residence. That's one way. Maybe a work visa situation. If you're a skilled individual who could potentially attract the interest of a U.S. employer, that could be something that they could apply for a work visa for you. Perhaps an investment route, depending on what you have. There are a number of different ways to look at this from a business immigration perspective. Same goes with Canada. You might have either a marriage or a common law relationship and could be sponsored that way. You could theoretically find the interest of a Canadian employer and apply for a work permit. Study permits, another option if you have the resources to come to Canada to study. Or there are a number of different ways that we could look at this. If you have also a company, say in Uganda or your home country, and you set up a subsidiary, that might be a possibility for some people who could then transfer themselves or one of their gay and lesbian employees to Canada or the United States. There are different ways to look at this. We don't always have to consider the refugee streams and refugee programs as the only way to do this. So I would say talk to one of us. If you're in this situation, we have relationships with civil society groups here, a lot of great gay and lesbian refugee groups, but also just business groups, other members in the community. We might be able to connect you or think of a strategy that would work for your circumstances.
Yeah, I just have the slide up here. I think we've covered most of that about helping people, what can be done to help them. Also, if they're already in Canada and the United States, I'll cover that by asking Anna, what do you want to see from someone who contacts you? So someone watches this video, they're in Canada perhaps, and they're like, you know what, I'm here on a visitor visa or maybe a temporary work visa, and they don't want to go back to a country like Uganda that is persecuting them for their sexual orientation. So they drop you an email. And what do you want to see that you can get things started quickly?
Okay, I would say that it does make a big difference if you are here on a visa or on a work permit, because with the situation being what it is in Uganda, there should be no reason why you would be returning home anytime soon after visiting as a tourist. The circumstances are that you need to claim protection, and so those would be the ones who should who are more urgently need to file their claims. And whereas if you're on a work permit, you do have valid status in Canada and can work and support yourself. You can take the time to draft your narrative, because you need to have a well-crafted narrative before you file your claim. And but at the same time, you should be taking steps to do that. In terms of supporting documents, you do have a lot of time to gather them after you filed your claim. You don't need them until you are closer to your hearing date. However, a lot of them can take a long time to gather. So if you haven't left Uganda yet, I would say that if you're able to gather any of your documents, dismissal letters from your place of employment, or even just getting contact information for people who can assist you later, could call in as witnesses, can provide affidavits or letters. Maybe you don't want to travel with those things for your safety. That's very understandable. But a lot of people come and then they say, well, I don't have the person's contact information, so I can't get that now. And it's much easier to get those ducks in a row before you go. But if you are already here, then don't fret, because you do have time to try to get in contact with these people. I would just make an appointment right away for us to talk about the types of supporting documents that you will need to get.
Yeah, Michael, same question for you. I know you say it all the time, how important status is. If you're in status, it's a great deal different than if you're not. Maybe talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, status gives you a jumping off point to do many different things. If you are in the US and have entered without inspection, so you don't have status or you overstayed a visa, then it gets more difficult. Same in Canada. There are some ways that you can continue to stay without status, but it is important to consider, and it's something that we need to know really soon in the game when you talk with us, so that we can understand what your options are.
Right. I mean, the key is don't hide things from your lawyer. I mean, if you're going to talk to the two of you, they need to be straight up so that you can help them to the best of your abilities. Thank you very much, both of you, for talking about this important issue. You can contact them at the addresses you see on the screen. It's mo'rourke@pacelawfirm.com. We have Aazam at pacelawfirm.com. Michael, Anna, we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks so much, Sean.
Talk to you soon.
Bye-bye.